Hi folks, on the next Just Outdoors we're going to be talking about bullets, cartridges, and all you deer hunters might have some interest in this, particularly the copper bullets that are coming on the market, and we're going to be seeing those in the near future. And we have an expert with us that's going to show demonstrations. We're going to demonstrate the shooting of these copper bullets compared to lead. And Pete Sahr, you're a employee of the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, Wildlife Section, and tell us a little about what you're going to talk about.
Well, we just want to demonstrate that copper bullets are a suitable and safe alternative for lead ammunition for deer hunting.
Beautiful. And that's stay tuned, because we're going to have some pretty good demos here.
Just Outdoors is brought to you in part by the following community supporters.
Jervelin Hardware Inc., Deer River. Jervelin Hardware offers a broad selection of paints and sporting goods and a complete line of plumbing and electrical supplies. Jervelin Hardware, 108 Main Avenue, Deer River.
Meds One Emergency Medical Services. Meds One provides mobile advanced life support, community paramedic primary care services, and education, event medical support, and consulting. Preserving lives and improving health. In an emergency, always call 911.
This program is sponsored in part by Brewed Awakenings Coffee House. Brewed Awakenings is a green business with the mission to be a cafe where a person can eat every day and be healthy. Nurture your inner being at Brewed Awakenings, downtown Grand Rapids on Highway 2 East, across from the courthouse.
Hi, my name is Tom Chapin, and welcome to Just Outdoors. And this is a program to bring you the bare facts about the woods, waters, and wildlife of Itasca County. And today is a real special day. It's a beautiful day. We're out at the Itasca Gun Club, and we're going to have information about shooting. So all you deer hunters out there, you might want to take a look at this program and see what you think. You're going to be able to see some demonstrations of some different types of bullets. And we have with us to show the demonstrations, do the demonstrations actually, I'll just be witnessing it, is Pete Sahr. Pete, welcome to the
Thanks, Tom.
show. And Pete, you are you work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in the Wildlife section, right?
Wildlife Services.
Services section. And you are kind of specializing in the use and the future use of potentially of copper bullets for hunting.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, explain that a little bit.
We first became involved with copper bullets out of our Grand Rapids office when we were doing a deer removal project for bovine tuberculosis up in Roseau County, up in that area. They wanted to reduce the deer population to try to prevent the spread of bovine tuberculosis from deer to deer and from deer to cattle. That was the big concern up there. So we started a project of deer removal up there, and we started out using lead bullets. And right about that time was when they started getting concerned about lead contamination in donated venison. So we kind of saw the writing on the wall and figured we'd voluntarily switch to using copper ammunition instead of lead.
Yeah.
Of course, the concern with lead is in ammunition is lead poisoning, both for eagles. Eagles, it only takes 2 size 6 lead pellets ingested by an eagle to be a lethal dose.
So if anybody shotguns, they'll know the size of a pellet out of a number 6 shot. It's not very big. It only takes 2 of those ingested by an eagle
to be a lethal dose
to kill the eagle.
Yep.
Okay.
So we started doing a little experimenting with some different copper ammunition, and we found one that we thought was pretty suitable, a suitable alternative to lead ammunition. So we see copper as kind of a suitable and safer alternative for lead ammunition.
Yeah, so right now it's an alternative. It's available right now in certain stores, but not highly available. Is that right?
Yes, yep. For some calibers it's available, and that's probably one of the biggest limiting factors right now is availability for certain calibers.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the different types of ammunition, lead and copper, and the points on the bullets too, because that makes a difference on how they operate.
Yep.
And basically we're going to give some demonstrations on the effectiveness of copper bullets compared to lead bullets. And you're going to be able to demonstrate that and show it in a pretty close way, because we're going to do some shooting today.
Yep.
And find out into water, which is basically what the mass you're shooting at a deer. The Wildlife Society is why you're here.
Yep.
And they're the ones that are kind of assisting you and pushing you into, not pushing you, but suggesting that this get out in the public, this information.
The way I got involved with these copper bullet demonstrations is the Wildlife Society received, the Minnesota chapter of the Wildlife Society received some funding to put on copper demonstrations to show the viability of copper in ammunition for deer hunting. So I've always been kind of interested in it, and so I contacted them and say, hey, how can I help out? And they asked me if I could build a couple of bullet traps, just so you can shoot into water-filled milk jugs in these traps. The traps would catch the milk jugs will catch the lead or copper ammunition. So I built a couple of those, and we've done a couple demonstrations now. One with primarily rifle cartridges, and then we just did one down by St. Cloud with shotgun slugs. So.
Okay, great. You've got some photos here, and you've got the cartridges here. Which would you like to start on first?
Let's just start out with the cartridges. I think probably
Okay.
the easiest way. Over on the right here, these are all lead cartridges. Just a sample. There's dozens of different lead cartridges out there, lead bullets. So we'll start on the right. This is like a Nosler ballistic tip lead bullet. This is just your pointed soft point lead bullet. Let me think for a second which one that is. I wrote them down. Oh, okay. This is the, wait, which one is that? Okay, I got it. This is the Remington core-locked bullet. This is just your basic round nose soft lead bullet. That's a 30-30 cartridge there. And this is the Winchester silver tip. So just a few different bullet designs designed to perform a little bit differently, to aid in expansion is kind of what the different designs do.
Could you tell us just a couple of these, what the difference would be? Why they're different that way?
This is the ballistic tip, Nosler ballistic tip. The plastic tip aids in expansion, which in lead bullets you really don't need that, but it also helps in aerodynamics in the bullet flight.
Okay.
You have a nice smooth pointed tip that helps it fly. We'll be using this one in the lead demonstration, so you'll be able to see what happens when you shoot that into the water trap. With all of these lead ammo, you get a lot of expansion, and the problem with lead ammunition is you get a lot of fragmentation. Different levels of fragmentation. The ballistic tip is one that really fragments a lot. You've probably heard of trophy bonded or bonded bullets. In those cases, the lead is bonded to the thin coating of copper that's on the outside, so you get a little bit less fragmentation. But as you'll see, I've got some samples here, but you get a lot of fragmentation with lead.
And that is a concern, isn't it, with the eagles?
Yep.
And just generally having that massive meat there, whether it's destroyed as like the gut pile or whatever, or you're actually eating it, you still could be concerned with actually ingesting yourself.
Yes, yep.
Some lead.
What happens when you shoot a deer, for example, with a lead bullet? There's such a high velocity. Lead is a very soft metal, so at high velocity soft metal, when it hits the deer, it fragments. And those fragments, the Minnesota DNR did some studies, and they found fragments up to 11 or 14 inches even away from the wound tract of the bullet. So that's in both directions.
Wow.
So you can get a lot of lead fragmentation in there. And when people butcher their own deer, of course they cut around that section, and they probably do like I've done for years, is just throw my butcher scraps out in the woods for the critters to feed on. Well, that's where a lot of the lead fragments are. Another thing is just gut piles. You end up with a lot of lead fragments in gut piles, which are left in the woods.
Yeah, and you have statistics we'll talk about later about eagles in Minnesota.
Yep.
But just generally, lead is a concern and has been a concern for some time all over the country. Lead pipes, lead in everywhere.
Yep.
And they're trying to get rid of lead in the environment, particularly connected to people and animals.
Yep.
And that's what this is.
Well, we're all familiar with the lead shotgun
Sure.
shot situation. Years ago,
Yeah.
lead was banned for waterfowl hunting because all that lead shot was getting put out in the wetlands, and ducks and other waterfowl were, the dabbled feed down off the bottom of the shallow water. They ingest that lead and die from lead
And
poisoning.
that's been an obvious situation there where you've seen the signs, the positive signs of reducing that lead
Yep.
in the duck hunting, migratory waterfowl hunting, for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
and,
Okay.
and of course lead is a concern with human health and safety too. I mean, they've taken lead out of paint, they've taken lead out of plumbing. Simple fact is lead's not good for people to eat, so
Right.
so why would you want it in your venison?
And I think people should know that, like the eagles and anything that's eating this lead, it has to be ingested.
Yes.
So if you shoot a duck or a migratory bird, just the shooting of the duck will not give them lead poisoning. They have to ingest it, actually.
Right.
Okay, very
Yep.
good. Now, you got some actual copper bullets here.
Yes, there are getting to be more and more copper bullet choices out there for hunters to make. I'll just kind of go through some of them that I have here. This is the Federal Trophy Copper. So this is a solid copper bullet. Plastic or the polymer tip aids in expansion. So copper's harder than lead, so it doesn't expand quite as easily. So the polymer tip helps in that in bullet expansion.
So anytime you see a polymer tip, that's an expansion.
Yep, it helps in
situation.
expansion. It also helps in aerodynamics
Okay.
for your bullet flight. So that's the Federal Trophy Copper. This is the Barnes TTSX tipped triple shot. So this again has a polymer tip. This is the same bullet without the polymer tip. And in demonstrations, we've seen that this bullet expands a little bit better than this one because of that polymer tip. I think
Okay.
acts more like a, see that plastic tip just, the hole there actually acts like a hollow point almost. So,
I
so
see.
that's what helps in the expansion. So then this is just the Barnes triple shock or TSX bullet. This is the Hornady bullet. And these are all solid. This one is a solid gilding metal bullet. It's a Hornady GMX, it's called, gilding metal expanding bullet. Gilding metal is the same coating that you have on your lead bullets. It's an alloy of 95% copper, 5% zinc.
Okay.
And that makes it a little bit harder than copper. So, and that's why they put it on lead bullets, is so you don't get all kinds of lead fouling in the rifling of your bullets.
Sure.
So this is a solid bullet of the gilding metal, and again, it's got the polymer tip to help it expand.
Okay.
This is Remington Copper Solid. So that's one of Remington's solid copper bullets out there, and again, it's got a polymer tip. This, you can see, it's a little bit smaller. It's just a smaller caliber. This is a 243.
Okay, tell us a little difference about the barrel fouling.
Sure.
Have you noticed a difference? There's going to be a difference, obviously, but
Yep.
what do people have to worry about that they didn't have to worry about maybe with lead, or there's no problem?
Sure. With lead bullets, you've got this gilding metal coating. It's pretty hard. So when it goes through a barrel, it goes through of course, the rifling twist. It's a spiral twist
Sure.
in your barrel, lands and grooves. The lands are what contacts the bullet itself. Gilding metal is a little bit harder, so you get a little less fouling than you would with just a solid copper bullet. Copper itself is a little bit softer. So, so with this bullet, these solid copper bullets, you'd probably get a little bit more copper fouling than you would with the gilding metal
Okay.
bullet.
Is there as much copper fouling as there would be lead fouling?
No, definitely not.
Okay,
No,
that's
no. So the only thing you need to really consider when you're using copper ammunition is you probably want to add a copper solvent to your gun cleaning kit, because normal powder solvent won't dissolve any copper buildup in there.
Sure.
So
Okay. Well, good. That's a good demonstration of the different tips, difference between copper and lead, and what's available out there. Someplace, once they become more available.
Right.
I think that's what the hunters are eventually going to do. They're going to work their way into this. It'll take a long time.
Yep.
But yet, that's probably what's going to be coming down the road. I would think, just
And
because of the fact that lead is in the environment.
Right. Initially, copper bullets cost was kind of a factor. They were
Yeah.
$50 a box
Yeah.
or so for a 20-round
I
box
see they
of
aren't
copper.
now, though. They're
Now
coming
prices
down.
going down. I just recently bought some of this GMX ammunition for my wife for her 7mm08, and it was $34.99 a box. So not much different than your
High price lead, maybe.
high-price
Sure.
bonded bullets. Yep.
Sure. Okay.
Well, I've got some samples of the bullets that we've collected from this demonstration in the past. This is a
Okay. Hold it up again. There you go.
this is a solid copper bullet. So you can see how the petals just kind of peel back. So this one and this one are similar. Let me grab a couple of them here. So if you look at these two bullets, they're very similar. This one is the Barnes tipped triple shock. This one is the Barnes untipped, the TSX bullet. And if you look, you can kind of compare. The tipped one mushrooms out a little bit deeper than the untipped one, and that's the only difference in those bullets is that polymer tip. So that aids.
Seems like
an
more of the
expansion.
bullet is
Yep.
expanded.
And if you look at it this way,
So-
this is the tipped bullet here, so you can see it expanded to a little bit bigger diameter.
Okay. Good.
I'll briefly talk about a couple of, like I said, we did some demos with shotgun slugs too. So I'll show some of those.
You'll be able to see those a lot easier because they're bigger.
Yeah, they're bigger. So
Sure.
these three are copper shotgun slugs. I can put one of these down because that's another 20 gauge. But this is a 12 gauge solid copper shotgun slug, and this is a 20 gauge. So you can see they get pretty good performance, pretty good expansion with those two. So that do a lot of
They
damage.
expand so evenly
Yep.
with copper compared to lead, huh?
Yep. And what it is these petals are formed into almost like a hollow point, and they're already cut so that the petals just
I
peel
see.
back.
Is that how it's manufactured?
Yep, that's how it's manufactured.
Okay.
The old-fashioned or standard lead shotgun slugs. This one is a high-velocity shotgun slug. So you're up around 1,800 to 1,900 feet per second. So you get a lot of fragmentation with a high velocity. This one is a lower velocity shotgun slug, probably down around 1,300 to 1,400 feet per second. So it stays intact a lot more. So a higher velocity shotgun slug acts almost like a high velocity rifle bullet.
So you really, if you're going to use a shotgun slug, you're better off using a lower velocity.
Well, you're better off using copper, and then you can use as high velocity as you want.
Right.
There's drawbacks to using low velocity. You don't get quite the penetration and
sure.
stuff too.
Foot pounds or whatever. Okay. Very good. Now,
All right.
some of the photos you've taken of your demonstrations, which we're going to be doing down here pretty soon.
Sure. These are just some of the copper bullets, or these are just some of the lead bullets that we've used in the demonstration. You can see this is the copper jacket, and it pretty much totally separates from the lead component of the bullet, and you get a lot of fragmentation. Same with this one. This one is the ballistic tip.
This one right here.
Yep.
Okay.
This one is a Remington, the core lock, and you can't really see it, but there is a hunk of lead that's still attached here, but you still get a lot of fragmentation there.
Okay.
Oops, I got another one in here. So this just shows some of the real fine lead powder that you can get when a bullet fragments. This is all lead that was removed from the bullet traps.
That might be what we're going to be seeing today after the
Yep.
demo, right?
Yep.
Okay.
This bottom one is interesting. This is a bonded bullet, where the lead is chemically bonded to the copper. So a lot more of the lead stays intact with the copper, but you still do get a lot of
That's the
fragmentation.
fragmentation over here that you're going to find around the shot. Yep. Okay.
Okay. switching to a copper bullet, this is just like the one that we just showed. It's a nice enlargement, so you can kind of see the design of copper bullets. If you look at this groove right here, that is a groove caused by the lands in your rifle barrel, the raised portions of your rifle barrel. So that's what comes in contact with your rifle barrel. All solid copper bullets have these grooves cut into them, and what those do is they reduce copper fouling, and they do that in two ways. One way is they reduce the surface area of the bullet that's actually touching the barrel. And then these grooves also, and you can see if you look real close, they kind of catch some of that copper that's kind of scraped off in the barrel. Okay. So just reduces copper fouling in your barrel. So we'll be doing 2 demonstrations today. One will be inside a bullet trap, and we do this with lead bullets so that we can catch all of the fragments from the bullet inside the bullet trap. So what we do is we shoot into it. This is lined with 5 milk jugs filled with water. We shoot into it, pop it off with the ring, and then I've got some water. We can rinse out the inside of the barrel and pour everything into a white jug, and we can kind of see all the bullet fragments. So that's the lead bullet. With copper bullets, because you get a lot more penetration with copper bullets, we found out that if you try to do it in the bullet trap, sometimes you can damage your bullet trap because it goes through the bullet trap can only hold 5 milk jugs. So what we do is we set up 7 or so milk jugs just in a line and shoot into them with the copper bullets. Sometimes the bullet is just inside one of the jugs. Sometimes as it loses velocity and is about to peter out, it'll just tip off the side, and you'll find it laying on the table or beside the table. So.
And that's what we're going to be doing right here.
Yep.
These 2 demonstrations.
So it's kind of dramatic, you know, you got a lot of velocity, so
right.
it does have quite an impact.
Okay. This is interesting.
Let's see, do we want to... That one we kind of already got. Okay. So. These are just some x-rays of some carcasses that were shot with lead bullets, and if you can see them, all these little white specks, those are all fragments of lead in the x-ray. So you can see lots of fragmentation of lead bullets. Same thing in this picture, all these little white flecks.
Well, that looks like it takes up about the whole thoracic cavity of the deer right here.
Yep. Yeah, like I said,
much.
I mean, they found lead fragments up to 18 inches away from the wound channel, so that's 18 inches in either direction. So.
All right. So that's why we're here, demonstrating that.
Yeah. And here, this is an x-ray of an eagle that has ingested lead. You can see the white specks of lead in the x-ray there.
Right down in here. Yeah. Is that in the stomach, probably?
That's in the stomach, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that looks like it's more than 2 size 6 shotgun pellets in size, so that's probably a lethal dose for that eagle. The Raptor Center down at the University of Minnesota, they get in approximately 120 bald eagles a year. A high percentage of those are suffering from lead poisoning. Probably a third of the birds suffering from lead poisoning are in such an advanced state that they have to euthanize the bird. It's just the most humane thing to do. The others, some they can treat. They usually end up treating and releasing 30 of those birds recover enough to be released. So it's a pretty big issue for.
Yes, yeah, and that's what this is all about.
Right.
Plus humans.
Yep.
And other animals. Other animals are going to eat.
Yeah, but other animals eat
and
carcasses
nothing's been
too.
done on that. We don't know all the effect of lead on those animals. Just the birds mainly here. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of future here as far as studying. There's going to be a lot of information coming out, I'm sure, in the next 10 years, just dramatically. Yep,
and the Wildlife Society and the DNR, I've been also working with the non-game DNR. They're not pushing for a legislative ban on lead bullets or anything like that. Right. Lead bullets have their place, for target shooting. Copper's a little bit more expensive, so it's a lot cheaper to shoot lead on a range. Yeah. For work for me, there's some cases where lead is still the chosen method. If we're working on an airport where we're concerned about pass-throughs, copper bullet, you get more pass-throughs where the bullet passes completely through the animal, and you have to be concerned about, of course, what's behind it. And if you're shooting like an urban deer removal project or a deer removal project on an airport where you don't want your bullet passing through the animal, then a lead might be good alternative there.
And if people are concerned about the price of these cartridges, if you're going to sight in a gun, you can use lead the first 8 or 9 shots, and maybe the last 2 shots just get it right on.
Yep,
right?
that's the best thing to do. Sight your gun in with lead. It's a little cheaper, and then once you get it zeroed in pretty close, shoot with copper. Sometimes your copper bullet is going to hit in the exact same place as the lead, but sometimes it's going to be 2 to 3 inches off. It all depends on the guns. Different guns handle different bullets differently. So.
Okay. Well, Pete, we covered a lot of pre-information here before we go out on the range. So that's what we're going to do now. And when we get down there, you're going to explain exactly what you're shooting at and what you're using for the cartridge. And let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to have a demonstration here. A couple of them, maybe 3 of them. We're going to fire 3 rounds.
Sure.
And 1 round is going to be into the bullet trap.
Yep.
And that's going to be a lead round.
We shoot the lead into the bullet trap because the barrel collects all the lead fragments.
And that's the reason for the trap. You want to collect and determine what is exploded and what's still remaining.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we're going to shoot a pretty impressive situation here where you're going to be shooting jugs with copper.
Yep.
And you're going to have 6 or 7 jugs lined up. And the reason you do that is so you can retrieve the bullet itself, so you can take a look at it, right?
Right. We don't shoot copper in the bullet trap because copper has more penetration and will probably shoot into the back of the bullet trap.
So that's what these other jugs are about.
Yep.
And we'll do that a couple times. And I think for safety reasons and anytime you're at a gun range, you want good ear protection. You've got some earplugs. I've got some muffs here, and also eye protection.
Right.
And so we'll be doing that. And I think what you want to do first is what? What would you like to shoot first?
First, we're going to shoot lead into the bullet trap.
And what type of lead cartridge?
We're going to shoot that Nosler ballistic tip, that green tip bullet that we used showed in the demo.
Okay, and again, the reason for the tip is more expansion.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you're off.
All right.
And again, this is a 308.
Okay.
A lot of energy expended there.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, it bucks that whole barrel. So.
Yeah, considering all that energy is collected right in that barrel, and normally it goes infinity here. So.
And I mean, we're so close to muzzle velocity here. You're going from 27,000 feet per second, or 2,700 feet per second to 0.
Yeah, so. Just like that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
We're going to go down and look at. No, we're going to.
Yeah, we're going to go down and rinse out the bullet trap and get all the fragments out, and we can kind of show how much the fragments. Sure. During the demos, we pour it into a paper filter, but they're kind of, when they get wet, they fall apart. So I think we can be just as effective by pouring it right into here.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll set this under here, take off the lid, take out the water jugs. Find the large fragments are probably in one of the water jugs, and we'll rinse it out and collect all the fragments.
Will you be able to see the fragments through the water here?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
That's why I got this white container, shows them really well. So if we take that off, and then we let this drain kind of slowly.
Can you hold it?
Yeah, if you want to hold that on, that'd be great. And it's okay if some water spills out, because the lead will sit at the bottom. Okay, if you want to tip it, you can go ahead and pour out some of the water towards me, just to get rid of it.
There's fragments going out right now.
What's falling out is just contamination. It's not lead.
Okay. It's not lead because it's too heavy.
No, but just some pieces of wood that.
Sure.
You can see a couple of lead pieces in there. Okay, if you want to hold that, I'll take these See now here in the milk jug even, you can see some of the real fine lead particles there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll rinse that off in there. And a lot of that, some of that contamination comes from just crud that was in the milk jugs. Maybe they weren't rinsed perfect. So this is where our bullet will probably, oh, no, it's in the next one. There's a few fragments in there. So this is the one that has our newer part of our bullet on it, I believe. Yep. So we'll.
There's the bullet. Okay.
Oops. So we can pour out a little bit more of that water if you want, Tom. All the fragments should stay in there. And this is just a little fertilizer sprayer that I got to use for rinsing out. So I'm just going to rinse this tray off first.
Would you like to collect that or not?
Yeah, we'll just rinse it right into the bullet trap, and then we'll.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yep. So we're okay right now. Just want to get all the fragments off it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you want to hold that for a second, I'll get this out of there. Okay. So I'm going to tip it forward a little bit. Okay, if you want to go ahead and dump out a little more water. Yeah, we'll need to, I'll prop up the back a little bit, just so you can see more fragments on the platform.
And of course they're collecting right here, right?
Yep. And you can see those fragments splattered all over on the back of the trap, so we try to rinse all that stuff out. Okay, I'm going to tip it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's one big fragment in there that doesn't want to run down. There it comes.
Okay. Looks pretty good.
Okay, so now I can just use your finger and scoop out the rest of those into there.
There it is. So I can dump some of this
Yep.
water out. And all the heavy metals are going to go to the bottom, and we're not going to worry about that dumping out there, about like that maybe.
Yep. And you see the green polymer tip? You can see what happens to that. It kind of.
That's right here. Here's the green polymer tip.
So you can see you get a lot of lead fragments and a lot of copper.
So these lead fragments are the concern right here.
Yes, yep.
And it doesn't take many of these fragments to be ingested by whatever critters, particularly a bald eagle or hawks or something like that, that's feeding on the deer remains
Yep.
in the field. And it doesn't take many of those to cause a sickness or a fatality in those birds, right?
Right.
Okay.
And as far as performance-wise, you can see why you don't get near as good penetration with lead as you would with copper, because this is essentially all that's.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this starts to fall apart the minute it hits the hide of the animal.
Yep.
And so once it hits the hide of the animal, this is exploded into the animal. So you're not getting the full effect of the whole bullet.
Right, you lose
going into the
you lose all the foot-pounds of energy
right there
when it
again.
fragments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lead.
Where copper maintains, 95
Yeah.
to 100% of its mass, so it maintains.
Well,
all
we've been
those-
shooting lead for hundreds of years,
Yep.
and it's a good
It's
invention.
done its job, yeah.
Nice job, but maybe there's something a little better, possibly, ballistic-wise, and also for the environment, obviously.
Safer,
Sure,
yep.
Sure. Okay, we got 2 more demonstrations here with copper bullets.
Yep.
And show us again the difference in the copper bullets as you're going to be shooting.
Sure. We're going to do one solid copper bullet. That's that Barnes TTSX, the tipped triple shock. That's this one. And we're going to be shooting the Hornady GMX. This is the gilding metal one. I haven't shot one of these yet, so it'll be interesting to see how it expands compared to the copper.
Okay, how do you expect it to expand compared to the copper?
I've seen pictures and it looks like it expands exactly the same as
Same
copper.
way.
It's a little. My concern was that if it was harder, it might not expand quite as much.
Okay.
But
But they're both copper bullets.
this one's copper, this one's gilding metal. So this is that alloy.
I see. The whole bullet
95%
is.
copper, 5% zinc.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so it's got a little bit, this is a little bit harder
Yep.
than even the copper itself.
Yep.
Okay.
And the reasoning behind that is they say it fouls the barrel less because it's harder, so you get less
the
copper
gilded
fouling.
metal.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so we'll do the Barnes TTSX solid copper first. You see, that's a little bit more dramatic.
A little bit. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, there's only so much slow-mo we can do.
Yeah, but it's still, you could
Slow it down to maybe half speed.
drill it and then shoot one more time. Or, yeah.
All
All right,
right,
we're
well-
going to go retrieve.
Go see if we can find the copper bullet.
Okay, this is the second to the last.
Yep. So it's
So you had 6.
6. Yeah, that's the 6th jug.
This is the 6th jug. And what did you find in there?
Inside here, sounds like we have our copper bullet. Yep. So I'll just pour this out right here, and we can see the.
Wow.
So there you can see, Tom, you get that perfect expansion rollback of the petals.
Almost looks like a flower.
Yep. And in water, that would be close to 100% retention of the. The only way it loses is the polymer tip.
Sure. And, you know, the reason for expansion in bullets when you're killing deer is what?
You want a larger wound track.
And for the deer itself, you want to kill the deer.
A
as
quick, humane kill.
humane,
Yeah.
quick kill. And with something like that, which expands about double the size of the original diameter, that's what you're looking for.
Yep, yep. And with most copper bullets, you're never going to find your bullet inside the deer. It's almost always going to pass through. Some people say it's a waste of energy to have your bullet continue after it goes through the deer. Personally, I like to have 2 holes instead of 1. If you're doing any kind of tracking at all, it's a lot easier to follow a blood trail with 2 holes. So.
Exactly. So, yeah. And that energy is still expanded into that deer. I mean,
Right.
it's going
Yep.
through, so.
Yep.
All right. The next example would be the other tipped bullet.
Yep. That Hornady GMX, the gilding metal bullet.
Let's
so
sit up
I'll
for
be
that
interested
one,
to see
and
that
then
one.
we'll compare the bullets afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to be shooting the second bullet.
Yep,
And
this is
explain again what that is.
This is the Hornady GMX. That's the gilding metal bullet. It's a solid alloy, 95% copper, 5% zinc. A little bit harder.
Are they more expensive because of the gilded
No,
metal?
they're actually not.
They're actually not.
Nope.
Okay, so it's just a process that they use to combine 2 elements there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you expect this to probably produce the same expansion but we'll take a look,
Yep.
compare them.
Yep. My initial concern was that since it's harder, it might not expand as much, but the
Yeah.
tests that I've seen, it expands pretty well.
Let's find out.
All right. Now I hope we'll find this one.
Want another jug?
No, if anything, they just pop out the side. Like as it's going down to 0 velocity, it'll just kick out the side.
Well, we can look around.
Right. Yeah, that thing went 10 yards.
And we're going to pour out and see what this bullet looks like compared to the first one. This is the gilded metal jacket bullet.
Not jacket, it's solid.
I mean, solid gilded metal, yes. And there it is.
So it actually expanded back very nicely.
Okay, you have the other bullet. Kind of explain in your own words what you might see any difference there.
So what I see is, as far as diameter goes, I could measure it, but they look very similar. As far as peeling back, it looks like the gilding metal bullet peeled back a little bit more even. So good performance.
It peeled back quite a bit.
Yep.
Actually, about twice as much as this did. And I don't know if you were expecting that with the more solid.
I actually wasn't. No.
No. So when you look at that, is more expansion better in a situation like that or less?
I think more expansion is better.
Is better there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So another thing to note about the difference in these two bullets, if you look at how many grooves this one has, the solid copper has, what does it have, 3 grooves in it? Fouling grooves, those are called. The GMX bullet only has 1 or 2, and that's because the GMX bullet, they say, will foul less, so you don't need as many of those fouling grooves in it because it's harder.
And what the show is all about is to show what we saw with the lead and the particles, and there's nothing anywhere else in the body of that animal from these bullets.
Nope. Nope. I guess for me, it's, you know, what do you want in your deer? Do you want a single projectile or do you want a bunch of lead fragments?
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
I prefer this.
Okay. Well, we're wrapping up the show here. You have anything else to say to kind of cover what we've done here?
Nope, I don't think so. I think we've showed that copper does its job.
Does its job. And so in the future, if people are watching this and they pick up a few things out of this show, they'll maybe decide to give it a try.
And hopefully in the future, manufacturers will catch up a little bit and more copper bullet choices will be
And
available.
I think we probably need a little more advertisement on this stuff too. a little
Yep,
bit, so.
definitely.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Pete,
Yeah,
for
thanks,
coming
Tom.
in. Appreciate it.
it.
And thank you folks for watching Just Outdoors. And remember, stay informed.